Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship hummed quietly around him as his crew went about their daily duties. Everything seemed normal until the communication officer turned toward him with a worried look. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Council," Lieutenant Paul Davis said. His voice carried an edge that made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing. Jake nodded and walked to the center of the bridge. "Put it on the main screen." The stars disappeared, replaced by the image of a tall reptilian creature with golden scales and cold yellow eyes. Ambassador Zethkar of the Draconian Empire looked directly at Jake through the screen. Behind the alien, Jake could see the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, filled with representatives from dozens of different species. "Captain Morrison," Zethkar began, his voice deep and threatening, "I speak for the Hegemony Alliance and the Galactic Council. Earth has been judged unworthy of independent status in galactic affairs." Jake felt his heart sink. He had been expecting something like this for months. Earth was still new to galactic politics, having only made contact with alien civilizations 5 years ago. Many species saw humans as primitive and dangerous. Admiral Lisa Carter, who had been standing beside Jake, stepped forward. "What exactly are you saying, Ambassador?" Zethkar's eyes narrowed. "The decision has been made. Earth will surrender immediately and accept vassalage under the Hegemony Alliance. Your species will serve under our guidance and your military will be disbanded. Your colonies will be absorbed into our territories." The bridge fell silent. Jake could hear his own heartbeat as he processed what the alien was saying. Earth had worked so hard to build relationships with other species, to prove they belonged among the stars. Now it seemed like all of that effort had been wasted. "And if we refuse?" Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then Earth will be destroyed," Zethkar replied without any emotion. "You have 72 hours to make your decision. Our fleet is already moving toward your system. Resistance will only bring unnecessary suffering to your people." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving the bridge in shocked silence. Jake stared at the empty screen, his mind racing. He turned to his communication officer. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command." "Highest priority," he ordered. Within minutes, Jake found himself in a secure video conference with the most powerful people on Earth. President Helen Brooks sat at the head of a long table in the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol. Around her sat the Joint Chiefs of Staff and several other officials that Jake recognized. "How bad is it, Captain?" President Brooks asked. She looked tired, like she had been dealing with this crisis for hours already. "According to our intelligence reports, they have over 3,000 ships gathering at the edge of our solar system," Admiral Lisa Carter reported. She had joined the conference from her position beside Jake. "We have 47 vessels total, including support ships. The odds are not in our favor." General Patrick Stone, a gruff man with gray hair and serious eyes, leaned forward. "We should begin evacuation procedures immediately. Get our key personnel and technology off planet before they arrive." "Run away?" Admiral Carter shook her head. "That's not an option. If we abandon Earth now, we'll never get it back. Besides, where would we go? They control most of the galaxy." Jake watched as the Earth's leaders debated their options. None of them seemed good. Fighting meant certain death for millions of people. Surrendering meant the end of human freedom. Running meant abandoning everything they had built. Then Director Kate Phillips spoke up. Jake knew her by reputation but had never met her personally. She ran the Department of Advanced Projects, one of the most secretive organizations in the government. "There might be another option," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was a small woman with dark hair and intelligent eyes. "Project Deep Blue is ready for activation." The room went silent. Even President Brooks looked confused. "Project Deep Blue? I've never heard of that designation." Kate Phillips smiled slightly. "That's because it's been classified at the highest levels for 50 years. Only 7 people in the entire government know about it." General Stone frowned. "What kind of project requires that level of secrecy?" Instead of answering directly, Kate turned to her tablet and began typing. "I'm sending activation codes to coordinates in the Kuiper Belt. If this works, it will change everything." Jake watched as mysterious signals were transmitted from Earth to somewhere far beyond Pluto. The coordinates showed a location in the outer solar system, in a region that was supposed to be empty space. "What's out there?" Jake asked. Kate Phillips looked at him with an expression that might have been excitement or fear. "Humanity's insurance policy, Captain. Something we hoped we would never need to use. President Brooks stood up slowly. Director Phillips, I need to know exactly what you're talking about. If there's something that can help us defend Earth, we need to know about it right now. The details are complicated, Madam President. What I can tell you is that for the past 50 years, Earth has been working on a project that no one else in the galaxy knows about. We've been preparing for exactly this situation. Far away in the cold darkness of the Kuiper Belt, something massive began to stir. Ancient systems that had been sleeping for years started coming online. Lights flickered to life in corridors that stretched for kilometers. Computer systems began running diagnostics on weapons that had never been fired in anger. Back on Earth, the debate continued. Some wanted to fight, others wanted to negotiate, and a few still thought running was the best option. But Kate Phillips sat quietly, watching her tablet as status reports came in from the outer system. How long before this Project Deep Blue can help us? President Brooks asked. Kate checked her readings. The activation sequence will take approximately 18 hours to complete. After that, we'll know if 50 years of work and sacrifice were worth it. Jake felt a strange mixture of hope and worry. Whatever was out there in the darkness beyond Pluto, it represented humanity's last chance to remain free. The hegemony fleet was already on its way, and in less than 3 days they would be here to collect their answer. The conference ended with orders for all Earth ships to prepare for defensive action. Jake returned to his duties aboard the Liberty, but his mind kept wandering to the mysterious project in the outer system. What could humanity have built in secret that would make Director Phillips so confident? As the hours passed, long-range sensors began detecting the first signs of the approaching alien fleet. The invasion of Earth had begun, and soon the galaxy would discover what humans were truly capable of when their survival was at stake. Colonel Ryan Davis guided his stealth ship through the darkness of space, far beyond the orbit of Pluto. The UES Falcon was one of Earth's most advanced reconnaissance vessels, designed to slip through enemy territory without being detected. Right now, Ryan was following orders that made no sense to him. Control, this is Falcon. He spoke into his communication system. I'm approaching the coordinates you gave me. I don't see anything out here except rocks and ice. The voice that came back belonged to Director Kate Phillips herself. Keep looking, Colonel. You'll know it when you see it. Ryan checked his instruments again. According to his orders, he was supposed to investigate strange energy readings in this region of the Kuiper Belt. But his sensors showed nothing unusual, just the normal collection of asteroids and frozen debris that floated in the outer reaches of the solar system. Then something changed. His energy detectors began picking up massive power signatures coming from directly ahead. The readings were so strong that Ryan thought his equipment might be malfunctioning. Control, I'm getting some very weird readings here. Are you sure my instruments are working correctly? They're working fine, Colonel. Keep moving toward the source of the energy. Ryan pushed his ship forward, weaving between floating chunks of ice and rock. As he got closer to the energy source, he began to notice something strange about the asteroids around him. They seemed to be arranged in patterns almost like they had been placed deliberately. Suddenly, his ship's proximity alarms began sounding. Ryan looked at his screens in shock. According to his sensors, there was something enormous directly in front of him, but he couldn't see anything with his eyes. Then, without warning, massive doors began opening in what he had thought was empty space. Sections of asteroids and ice chunks moved aside like they were attached to some invisible structure. Ryan watched in amazement as lights began appearing, outlining the shape of something that defied belief. The structure was huge beyond anything Ryan had ever imagined. It stretched out in front of him for what seemed like forever, easily the size of a major city. As more lights came online, he could see that it was definitely artificial. The hull was covered with weapon systems, docking bays, and communication arrays. What in the world is that thing? Ryan whispered to himself. His ship's computer finally managed to scan the massive structure and display the results. The readings showed that the object was nearly 200 kilometers long and 40 kilometers wide. It was easily the largest artificial structure Ryan had ever seen. As he flew closer, Ryan could see markings on the hull. The symbols were clearly human, and he could make out designation numbers painted near what looked like the main command section. The letters UES Titan were written in enormous text along the side of the vessel. Control, you need to see this, Ryan said, his voice filled with amazement. I'm looking at what appears to be a massive Earth ship. The designation says UES Titan. How is this possible? Director Phillips's voice came back immediately. Colonel Davis, you are looking at humanity's greatest secret. That vessel has been under construction for 50 years. It's time to wake it up. As if responding to her words, more sections of the enormous ship began coming online. Ryan could see movement inside the transparent sections, and he realized that there were people aboard the vessel. Thousands of people, all moving with purpose as they brought their ship to life. A new voice came over his communication system, this one belonging to someone aboard the massive ship. UES Falcon, this is Captain Emma Stone of the UES Titan. Welcome to our little corner of space, Colonel. Ryan struggled to find words. Captain Stone, I had no idea this ship existed. How long have you been out here? My crew and I have been stationed here for 5 years, Colonel. We've been training and preparing for the day when Earth might need us. It looks like that day has finally arrived. Back on Earth, Director Kate Phillips was explaining the situation to President Brooks and the other leaders. The Situation Room had been cleared of everyone except the highest-ranking officials, and even they seemed to have trouble believing what they were hearing. You're telling me that we've been building a warship in secret for 50 years? President Brooks asked. How is that even possible? Kate pulled up holographic displays showing the construction history of the Titan. The project began shortly after we first detected signs of alien civilizations in nearby star systems. A small group of visionaries realized that Earth might one day need to defend itself against threats we couldn't imagine. General Stone studied the technical specifications on his screen. The size of this thing is incredible. How did you keep it secret? The construction was done entirely in the outer system using automated mining and manufacturing systems. The materials came from asteroids and comets, so there was no unusual activity near Earth. The workers were volunteers who agreed to spend years in deep space, knowing they might never see their families again. Admiral Carter looked at the tactical information about the Titan. What kind of weapons does it carry? Kate smiled for the first time since the crisis began. Everything we could think of, and some things that other species haven't thought of yet. The Titan represents 50 years of human innovation and engineering. It's designed to fight against enemies that are more advanced than we are. Meanwhile, aboard the Titan itself, Captain Emma Stone was addressing her crew of 20,000 volunteers. She stood in the main assembly hall, looking out at faces that had been preparing for this moment for years. Today you learn the truth about our mission, she announced. For 5 years you've been training for what you thought was a deep space exploration program. The reality is that you are the crew of Earth's ultimate weapon of defense. The crew listened in stunned silence as Emma explained the situation. Earth was under threat from a massive alien fleet, and the Titan was humanity's only hope of survival. Everything they had trained for, every simulation they had run, had been preparation for real combat. We are not explorers, Emma continued. We are guardians. For 50 years, Earth has been building this ship in secret, waiting for the day when our world might need protection. That day has come. The response from the crew was immediate and overwhelming. Cheers echoed through the assembly hall as 20,000 people realized that their years of sacrifice had been for the most important cause imaginable. They weren't just crew members on a research vessel. They were the defenders of humanity itself. As the Titan began its journey toward Earth, long-range sensors throughout the solar system detected its massive energy signature. The readings were so unusual that most monitoring stations assumed they were seeing equipment malfunctions. On the edge of the solar system, the hegemony fleet was still approaching Earth. Admiral Vexitar, the alien commander, received reports about strange energy readings from the inner system, but he dismissed them as human attempts to confuse his sensors. The humans are desperate, he told his officers. They're probably trying to make us think they have more ships than they actually do. Ignore these false readings and continue with the invasion plan. But the readings weren't false. The Titan was real, and it was on its way to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. In 18 hours, the aliens would discover that they had seriously underestimated the species they were trying to conquer. The first explosions lit up the darkness around Mars like deadly fireworks. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the UES Liberty as 800 alien ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and immediately began attacking the human defenders. All ships, this is Morrison, he spoke into his communication system. Execute Plan Delta. Use the asteroid belt for cover and make them work for every kilometer. The Earth fleet was vastly outnumbered, but Jake had spent months preparing for this moment. Every human captain knew the solar system better than any alien invader could. They would use that knowledge to their advantage. Lieutenant Commander Alex Chen commanded the destroyer UES Ranger, one of the smallest ships in the human fleet. As alien cruisers twice his size bore down on his position, Alex guided his ship into the dense asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. Navigator, take us through the Devil's Triangle, Alex ordered. The Devil's Triangle was a particularly dangerous section of the asteroid belt, where large rocks tumbled chaotically through space. It was almost impossible to navigate safely, but Alex had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times. His ship dove between massive spinning asteroids, with alien vessels following close behind. The aliens were faster and more powerful, but they couldn't match Alex's knowledge of every rock and debris field in the area. Weapons, target the lead cruiser when we come around asteroid 77 Alpha, Alex commanded. His tactical officer nodded and prepared the ship's missiles. The Ranger burst out from behind a house-sized rock and fired everything it had at the surprised alien ship. The enemy cruiser's shields flared and failed under the concentrated attack. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull as the ship lost power and began drifting helplessly. Direct hit, the weapons officer reported. Enemy vessel is disabled. But there was no time to celebrate. More alien ships were approaching and Alex had to keep moving. The Ranger disappeared back into the asteroid field, leaving the aliens to wonder where the attack had come from. Similar battles were happening throughout the solar system. The human defenders used every trick they could think of to slow down the invasion. Ships hid behind moons, used solar flares to mask their movements, and coordinated attacks that struck the aliens from unexpected directions. On Earth, billions of people watched the battle through news broadcasts. Reporter Maria Santos stood in front of the Global Defense Center, providing live coverage as explosions sparkled in the Martian sky. The fighting has been going on for 6 hours now, Maria reported. Our brave defenders are putting up incredible resistance, but the alien fleet is simply too large. Military sources tell me that we've lost 12 ships already, while enemy losses are estimated at around 40 vessels. In her underground command center, Admiral Lisa Carter coordinated the defense of Earth from a wall of screens that showed the entire solar system. Red dots represented enemy ships, while blue dots showed the remaining human vessels. The red dots far outnumbered the blue ones. Admiral, the UES Freedom is taking heavy damage, reported Captain Beth Williams, Carter's operations officer. They're requesting permission to fall back. Lisa watched as the heavy cruiser fought desperately against 3 alien ships at once. The Freedom was one of Earth's most powerful vessels, but it was being overwhelmed by superior numbers. Permission granted, Lisa replied. Tell Captain Brown to pull back to defensive line, Charlie. But it was too late. Even as the order was being transmitted, the Freedom's shields failed completely. Alien energy beams sliced through the ship's hull, causing massive explosions that could be seen from Mars. Within seconds, the proud vessel was nothing but debris floating in space. Lisa closed her eyes for a moment, thinking about the 300 crew members who had just died defending their home. Then she opened them again and got back to work. There would be time to mourn later if any of them survived. Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Hegemony Fleet, the communication officer announced. The main screen showed Admiral Vextar, the alien commander. His reptilian features were arranged in what might have been a smile if reptiles could smile. Behind him, Lisa could see the bridge of his massive flagship. Admiral Carter, Vextar began, your ships have fought bravely, but this resistance is pointless. You cannot win against our superior numbers and technology. I offer you one final chance to surrender and spare your planet unnecessary destruction. Lisa stood up straight and looked directly at the alien admiral. Admiral Vextar, I have a message for you and your fleet. Earth does not surrender. We will fight you with everything we have for as long as we can. Vextar's expression darkened. Then you have chosen death for your species. So be it. The transmission ended and Lisa knew that the aliens would now begin their final assault on Earth itself. She had bought as much time as she could, but it wasn't enough. The Titan was still hours away from the battle zone. In the asteroid belt, Alex Chen received the order to fall back to Earth's orbital defenses. His ship had managed to destroy or disable 7 alien vessels, but the enemy kept coming. For every ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter," came the voice over the communication system. "Execute withdrawal to Earth orbital defense perimeter. Repeat, all ships fall back to Earth." Alex felt his heart sink as he guided the Ranger away from the asteroid belt. They had fought as hard as they could, but it hadn't been enough. Earth's outer defenses had fallen, and now they would make their last stand around their home planet. As the human fleet retreated, the aliens pursued them relentlessly. Ship after ship fell to enemy fire as the survivors tried to reach the safety of Earth's defensive platforms. The UES Courage made a heroic last stand near the orbit of Mars, holding off 50 alien ships while the rest of the fleet escaped. When it was finally destroyed, Captain Daniel Murphy and his crew had bought precious minutes for their comrades. Admiral Vexitar watched the human retreat with satisfaction. His forces had performed exactly as expected, crushing the primitive human fleet with minimal losses. Soon they would be in orbit around Earth, and this annoying resistance would be over. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he ordered his communication officer. "Tell them that Earth's defenses have been broken, and the planet will surrender within hours." But far away in the depths of space, something was approaching that would change everything. The UES Titan had been moving steadily toward the inner solar system, and Captain Emma Stone was monitoring every moment of the battle. "How much longer until we reach the battle zone?" she asked her navigation officer. 6 hours at current speed, Captain," came the reply. Emma watched the tactical displays showing the retreat of Earth's fleet. Good men and women were dying while she and her crew raced to help them. She turned to address her bridge crew. "I know this is hard to watch," she said, "but remember that their sacrifice is buying us the time we need to get into position. When we arrive, we're going to make sure that every life lost today was not in vain." The crew nodded grimly and returned to their duties. Throughout the massive ship, 20,000 people prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of humanity. Weapon systems were armed, shields were powered up, and fighter squadrons prepared for launch. Soon, the galaxy would discover what humans were truly capable of when they were fighting for their survival. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as something massive dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the battle zone. The gravitational distortions created by the arrival were so strong that every sensor in the solar system registered the event. Admiral Vexitar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as his fleet closed in on Earth for the final assault. The human defenders had been pushed back to their orbital defense platforms, and victory seemed certain. Then his sensor officer called out in confusion, "Admiral, we're detecting a massive gravitational anomaly. Something very large just arrived at the outer edge of our formation." Vexitar turned to look at the tactical display. A new contact had appeared on the screen, but the size readings had to be wrong. According to the sensors, the object was nearly 200 kilometers long. Nothing that large could possibly be a spaceship. It must be an asteroid or space station, Vexitar decided. The humans are probably trying to ram us with a piece of space debris. Ignore it and continue the attack on Earth. But other alien commanders were not so sure. Captain Zorthak of the cruiser squadron was much closer to the new arrival, and his sensors were giving him readings that made no sense at all. "Command, this is not an asteroid," he reported. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures in what appear to be weapon systems. This object is artificial and very much alive." On Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter received the sensor reports with a mixture of hope and disbelief. The readings showed something so large that it defied imagination. But Director Kate Phillips was smiling for the first time in days. "Is that what I think it is?" Lisa asked. Kate nodded. "The UES Titan has arrived, Admiral. 50 years of preparation are about to pay off." Aboard the Titan itself, Captain Emma Stone stood on the main bridge and looked out at the alien fleet spread before her. Her ship was so large that it had its own gravitational field, and the bridge was located in a tower that rose high above the main hull. "Communication. Open a channel to the Hegemony fleet," Emma ordered. Her communication officer nodded. "Channel open, Captain." Emma's voice was calm and professional as she spoke to the aliens who had come to destroy her world. "Hegemony fleet. This is Captain Emma Stone of the United Earthship Titan. You have invaded human space and attacked our vessels without provocation. I am ordering you to withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Admiral Vextar received the transmission with amused disbelief. The human was speaking from what appeared to be some kind of massive space station. But she was addressing him as if she commanded a warship. "Human captain," he replied mockingly, "you are commanding what appears to be a converted asteroid. I have 800 warships under my command. Surrender now and I might allow your crew to live as slaves." Emma's expression hardened. "Admiral, you have 10 seconds to begin withdrawing your forces from human space. After that, I will consider you a threat to Earth and respond accordingly." Vextar laughed. "You dare threaten me? Destroy that space station immediately." The nearest alien ships opened fire on the Titan, sending streams of energy bolts and missile salvos toward the massive human vessel. The weapons that could have destroyed any normal ship struck the Titan's shields and simply disappeared in brilliant flashes of light. Emma watched the attack calmly, then turned to her weapons officer. "Commander Taylor, you may return fire. Target the ships that just attacked us." "Yes, ma'am. Weapons systems are online and ready." What happened next shocked every observer in the solar system. The Titan's hull suddenly bristled with weapon systems that emerged from hidden ports along its length. Particle beam arrays that were larger than most spaceships began charging with deadly energy. The first salvo from the Titan's primary weapons was devastating beyond belief. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out across space, each one capable of punching through the heaviest armor that alien technology could produce. The ships that had attacked the Titan simply vanished in brilliant explosions. But the Titan was just getting started. Missile ports opened along its hull, launching swarms of intelligent warheads that could track and destroy multiple targets. Fighter bays revealed squadrons of human combat craft that were more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. Within minutes, the alien formation began to break apart. Ships that had seemed invincible just moments before were being destroyed faster than their crews could react. The Titan moved through the battle zone like a force of nature, its weapons reaching out to touch enemies that were hundreds of kilometers away. Captain Jake Morrison, watching from the bridge of the Liberty, could hardly believe what he was seeing. "My God," he whispered. "We actually built that thing." Lieutenant Commander Alex Chen, still fighting in his damaged destroyer, felt hope returning for the first time in hours. "All ships, this is Chen. Let's show these aliens what happens when they mess with Earth. Attack pattern 7. Go, go, go." The surviving human ships rallied around the Titan, their confidence restored by the appearance of their secret weapon. Together they began pushing back against the alien invasion force that had seemed unstoppable just minutes before. Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display in growing horror. Half of his advance fleet had been destroyed in less than 10 minutes, and the massive human ship showed no signs of slowing down. Weapons that should have been able to destroy planets were having no effect on its shields. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our intelligence reports said the humans were primitives with inferior technology." His tactical officer was frantically analyzing the sensor data. "Admiral, this ship incorporates technologies we've never seen before. Its shield systems operate on completely unknown principles. And the size, it's like fighting a mobile battle station." The Titan continued its methodical destruction of the alien fleet. Every weapon system that fired at it was immediately targeted and destroyed. Ships that tried to escape found themselves pursued by missiles that could match their speed and outmaneuver their defenses. Captain Emma Stone maintained her calm demeanor as she directed the battle. "Navigation, bring us about to intercept the enemy flagship. Weapons, prepare the main gun for a precision strike." The Titan's main weapon was something that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. It was a focused particle beam array that could punch through the core of a planet if necessary. As it charged up, space around the massive ship began to glow with contained energy. Admiral Vextar realized that his flagship was being targeted by whatever terrifying weapon the humans had just activated. "All ships retreat immediately," he ordered. "Fall back to the rally point and regroup," but it was too late for many of his vessels. The Titan's main gun fired, sending a beam of pure destruction across space that struck the alien flagship's shields and overloaded them instantly. The ship's hull began to glow red-hot as its armor boiled away under the incredible energy. Assault Vextar's ship managed to escape destruction by jumping to faster than light travel at the last possible moment. But dozens of other alien vessels were not so lucky. The battle that was supposed to be an easy victory for the hegemony had turned into a complete disaster. As news of the battle spread across galactic communication networks, Species throughout the galaxy struggled to understand what they were hearing. Humanity, the primitive newcomers that everyone had dismissed, had just defeated one of the most powerful fleets in known space with a single ship. On Earth, people danced in the streets as they watched the alien fleet retreat in confusion and terror. The impossible had happened. Humanity had stood up to the galaxy's bullies and won. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything in recorded history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the vast chamber, all demanding answers about the impossible events at Earth. The holographic displays showed footage of the battle that had shocked the galaxy. Ambassador Zethkar of the Draconian Empire stood at the central podium, his golden scales reflecting the light from the chamber's ceiling. Behind him, the footage played again and again, showing the massive human ship destroying alien vessels with ease. Fellow council members, Zethkar began, we face a situation that none of our intelligence networks predicted. The species we dismissed as primitive newcomers has revealed military capabilities that exceed our understanding. In the audience, representatives whispered among themselves in dozens of different languages. The crystalline collective, the void swimmers, the machine consciousness, all of them were trying to understand how humanity had hidden such power for so long. Meanwhile, at the edge of the solar system, Admiral Vextar faced the most difficult decision of his military career. His fleet had been reduced from 800 ships to less than 400 in a matter of hours. The remaining vessels waited at a safe distance while he tried to decide what to do next. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving communications from the Galactic Council. They want a full report on what happened here. Vextar stared at the tactical display showing the human ship in the distance. Even from this far away, its energy signature was visible to his sensors. The thing was like a small moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy his entire fleet. Send this message to the Council, he ordered. The human species possesses military technology far beyond our previous assessments. Their vessel is approximately 200 kilometers in length and incorporates defensive and offensive systems of unknown design. Recommend immediate reclassification of humanity as a major galactic power. Back near Earth, Captain Emma Stone stood in the Titan's main conference room, preparing for what might be the most important conversation in human history. Around the table sat representatives from Earth, including President Helen Brooks, Admiral Lisa Carter, and Director Kate Phillips. Captain Stone, President Brooks began, the Galactic Council has requested a direct communication with you. They want to discuss new treaty arrangements. Emma nodded. I've been expecting this, Madam President. The galaxy doesn't like surprises, and we just gave them the biggest surprise in recorded history. Director Kate Phillips activated the holographic communication system, and the conference room filled with images of the Galactic Council chamber. Hundreds of alien representatives looked directly at the human delegation. Captain Stone, Ambassador Zethkar spoke first. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I request an explanation. How did your species construct such a vessel without our knowledge? Emma stood up and faced the alien representatives. Her voice was clear and confident as she addressed the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Ambassador Zethkar, honored council members, the answer is simple. Humanity has always believed in preparing for difficult times while hoping they would never come. The Titan represents 50 years of human determination, innovation, and sacrifice. She gestured to Director Phillips, who activated a presentation showing the construction history of the massive ship. Images appeared of asteroid mining operations, hidden shipyards, and the thousands of people who had worked in secret to build humanity's ultimate defense. We began this project shortly after we first detected alien civilizations in nearby star systems, Emma continued. We hoped we would never need to use it, but we refused to leave our survival to chance. A representative of the machine consciousness, a species of artificial intelligences, asked the next question. What technologies does your vessel incorporate? Our analysis shows energy signatures unlike anything in our databases. Director Phillips stepped forward. The Titan uses several innovations that we developed independently. Our quantum-entangled communication systems allow faster-than-light coordination between ship systems. Our adaptive manufacturing capabilities let us rebuild damaged components in real time. Most importantly, our modular redundancy design makes the ship nearly impossible to destroy completely. The aliens listened with growing amazement as Kate explained human engineering principles. The concepts she described were not necessarily more advanced than alien technology, but they were completely different. Humanity had approached the problems of space combat from angles that no other species had considered. "There is something else you should know," Emma said, causing the chamber to fall silent. "The Titan is not alone." The statement sent shockwaves through the council chamber. Representatives who had been whispering among themselves suddenly gave their complete attention to the human captain. "We have 2 sister ships nearing completion in our hidden shipyards," Emma continued. "The UES Leviathan and the UES Behemoth will be ready for service within 6 months. Earth is prepared to defend itself against any threat." Admiral Vexitar, who had been listening to the proceedings from his flagship, felt his heart sink. 1 human ship had destroyed half his fleet. The thought of facing 3 such vessels was terrifying beyond words. Ambassador Zethkar conferred quickly with other council members before speaking again. "Captain Stone, the Draconian Empire formally requests a new treaty with Earth. We propose full recognition of humanity as a sovereign galactic power, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." Similar offers came from representatives throughout the chamber. Species that had ignored humanity just days before now competed to offer trade agreements, military alliances, and diplomatic recognition. But it was the hegemony's representative who made the most significant statement. Admiral Korthval, speaking for the military alliance that had attacked Earth, stood slowly in the council chamber. "The Hegemony Alliance formally apologizes for our unprovoked attack on human space," he announced. "We offer full reparations for the damage caused and request permission to withdraw our forces from the Sol system." Emma nodded graciously. "Apology accepted, Admiral. The Sol system will remain open to peaceful traffic from all species, as it always has been." As the council session continued, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the UES Liberty, looking out at the Titan floating majestically in the distance. Beside him, Lieutenant Commander Alex Chen shook his head in amazement. 50 years, Alex said. "They kept this secret for 50 years. How many people had to keep quiet for that long?" Jake smiled. "Thousands of them. Engineers, construction workers, military personnel, government officials. All of them knowing that humanity's survival might depend on their silence. Back on Earth, people gathered in cities around the world to celebrate humanity's victory. Reporter Maria Santos stood in the center of New York, where millions of people had come to watch the news broadcast together. "Today marks a turning point in human history," Maria reported. "We are no longer the newcomers begging for acceptance in galactic society. We have proven that humanity deserves to stand as equals among the stars." In her office at the Department of Advanced Projects, Director Kate Phillips was already working on plans for the future. The Titan had saved Earth, but there would be other challenges ahead. Humanity needed to be ready for whatever the galaxy might throw at them next. Captain Emma Stone returned to the Titan's observation deck, where she had spent so many hours during the 5 years of waiting. Earth hung in the distance like a blue jewel, safe once again because of the sacrifices made by thousands of people over 5 decades. Colonel Ryan Davis, the pilot who had first discovered the awakening Titan, joined her at the viewing window. "What happens now, Captain?" Emma smiled as she watched construction ships approaching Earth. In the distance, she could see the framework of humanity's 4th supercarrier beginning to take shape in the orbital shipyards. "Now we make sure this never happens again," she said. "The galaxy has learned that humanity will not be conquered or intimidated. We'll take our place among the stars not as subjects but as protectors of freedom and justice." The Titan began its journey back to Earth, escorted by the surviving ships of the human fleet. Behind them, alien vessels retreated to their home systems, carrying news that would change galactic politics forever. Humanity had hidden its greatest achievement in the cold depths of space for 50 years, waiting for the day when it might be needed. That day had come, and the galaxy would never underestimate Earth's children again. The age of human expansion among the stars was about to begin.